Hey everybody, before we start this episode, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but I'm washing my clothes right now. I just got back from the Daily Tech News Show meetup at the Resorts World, and I have a washer and dryer in my room, and I was like, well, I can just wash my clothes while I'm here, and that way I don't have to do it when I get home. That's genius, and it won't cost me anything. But I don't know if you can hear. It's 11:23. I'm not sure if you can hear how loud it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm in the room. I'm just going to kind of walk out into the living room. Now the door is actually closed to the washer and dryer. I genuinely hope that this is not disturbing everyone else that's around me in the hotel. And if you think, oh, he's fancy, he's in a multi-room hotel, I got upgraded for free. I didn't pay for this. I actually paid less than $500 total for the entire stay. I'm closing the doors here so it's a little more quiet. I just happened to, it's a condo place for the Hilton, and I got it off of Airbnb, and the host upgraded me to another condo that they had. It was originally a studio, and the host was just really nice and upgraded me to a 1-bedroom. So, and they did it out of the kindness of their own heart. So I very much appreciate it, but also don't think I'm coming here and staying in a 1-bedroom suite with a living room and a kitchen, just in general. That's not, we're not rolling that way at the Kilowatt podcast. We definitely don't have that kind of budget for this show. We have the $500 budget. We just got extraordinarily lucky in the room. And I think I'm going to try to book this for next year too. Even if it's a little bit more money, like it is so much cheaper to stay here than it was to stay at Treasure Island, which was about $1,500. To stay there versus $500 for 3 nights here. And it's an amazing room, like absolutely amazing. It's nutty. I'm on the 28th floor. I've got a fantastic view, not of the strip, but it's still a fantastic view. And a nice big room and a nice big bathroom and a living room that I can work in and all the other stuff. So yeah, I'm very blessed to be able to stay here for as little as I paid. It's almost criminal. But that's not why I got on here. When I started recording, or when I wanted to start recording, the washer machine was not on the full spin cycle that it is now. And as soon as I hit record, it just kind of like clicked over. And I was like, do I continue this? Or do I just kind of point it out as one of the weird things about being at CES, and being in a room? And I don't know, maybe this isn't relatable. I don't know. But anyway, that's not why I turned on the thing to record. I turned it on because we have a new patron, and that patron is Mark. And you heard Mark on the end of the year episode. And then Mark also sends a lot of information about how EV sales are doing in Europe and the UK. So if you've ever heard me tell a story or read a story specifically about EV sales in the UK and or Europe, it was probably sent in by Mark, and I try to call those out every time so that he gets proper attribution. But sometimes I might forget or whatever. But if you hear that, it's probably coming from Mark. So I just wanted to take a second to tell Mark thank you. He actually subscribed to the Patreon, I think, on Sunday, and it's just been a whirlwind since Sunday, or even Saturday. Starting at Saturday, everything's just been kind of really nutty. So I haven't had a chance to sit down and reply and tell him thank you in an email. But I'll say here, Mark, thank you so much. You already contribute so much, so I really appreciate you contributing to the show financially as well. But as always, it's completely unnecessary, but it's always appreciated. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our actual episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie Grimm, and I don't know why I said my last name. I don't ever say that. My name is Bodie, and I am your host, and I'm at CES. This is day 3 at CES for me, and I am recording laying on my back in the hotel bed with my laptop on my chest, and this is a very comfortable way to record, if I'm being honest with you. I have just a few minutes, and then I got to take a shower and jump out and go to the DTNS, or the Daily Tech News Show meetup, which it reminds me, I was on Daily Tech News Show yesterday. I'll put a link in the show notes for that if you want to watch that. We did talk about the Donut Labs announcement, and if you're not familiar, Verge Motorcycle Verge Motorcycle partnered with Donut Lab, and there's some Donut Lab was spun out of Verge Motorcycle, and they partnered with them on a solid state battery, not semi-solid state, which a semi-solid state battery has mostly solid electrode, but it's got like this little gel in there to make it semi-solid state. No, they say that they have completely solved solid state, which, if true, they have leapfrogged so many different companies. So before I go too far into the Donut Lab stuff, let's just go back and talk about, batteries and how they're set up. So a typical lithium ion battery has an anode, a cathode, an electrolyte, and a separator. So the anode, you could typically look at that being on one side of the battery. It can be negative, but it can also be positive depending on the type of battery, so we don't want to get complicated there. But the anode's on one side, the cathode's on the other. The separator is in the middle, and the electrolyte flows through the separator, and the lithium ions that power the battery, or that give the battery a charge, flow back and forth depending on if they're being charged or they're releasing energy. In these current lithium-ion batteries that we have, the electrolyte is a liquid. That liquid has some organic solvents in it that are flammable. So when they heat up, they release methane and hydrogen, and that methane and hydrogen is extremely flammable. So that's a typical lithium-ion battery. In a solid-state battery, and I talked to the folks at Donut Labs, and we don't have an exact the exact way that they're doing this. So in a typical solid state battery, not Donut Labs specifically, you have an anode, a cathode, electrolyte. The separator is still there in some of the solid state batteries, not in all. Like QuantumScape, for instance, the way they do their solid state batteries is they'll have a ceramic separator, but it's anode free until it's charged, and then whatever. There's a lot of different things in there. But the benefits of the solid state battery is that it doesn't have a liquid electrolyte. It's got a solid electrolyte, and that electrolyte is not flammable. Now, anything that has energy has the potential to cause a fire, but it's not the problem isn't going to be due to the electrolyte. It's going to be because something else caught on fire. So we're going to have less problems than we do with the standard lithium-ion battery fires, right? And they're also less likely to form dendrites. And dendrites are these little structures that form inside the battery, and if these dendrites touch, they can actually cause shorts in the battery. This isn't a huge problem nowadays, just because battery management systems and chemistries, with the additives that they put in these dopants, and I can't remember what the other word is, but they put different things in to make the chemistry more stable. And dendrites, they still form. It's just not as big of a problem. But the benefits of solid state batteries is that they're more energy dense, so you can have a smaller and lighter battery, but the same amount of range that you would in a typical lithium-ion battery. And then you have a less of a chance of a fire, like we talked about. The potential for faster charging speeds and then longer lifespans than what we see in current EV batteries. In current EV batteries, we see pretty decent lifespan for.
New Year! Parehong extra value meals sa McDonald's. Ngayon, get a savory sausage McMuffin with egg, plus hash browns, and a small coffee. $5 lang. For a limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
Now, here is the challenges of solid-state batteries. It's a newish technology. The materials can be complex. They're high cost. Battery makers are having a difficult time bringing down the cost to be comparable to current EV battery costs. We typically seen small batch manufacturing because manufacturing the stuff at scale has been a little bit troublesome. And then, then trouble in manufacturing at scale. Companies currently working on solid state batteries are Gotion, which is a Chinese company, and they think they can have a prototype or a demo car in 2027, but full scale production wouldn't happen until 2030. QuantumScapes is saying 2027, but most people believe 2030 is probably the same for QuantumScape to be able to release their EV battery, solid state battery. CATL is going into trial production on a solid state battery in 2027, and BYD will have a demo vehicle in 2027, and production will start in 2030. And then there's a company called Chery, Chery, not ERRY. They're looking at 2027 for having their solid state battery out. But all of these numbers are all these years, I guess, potential years when this technology can come out. That's basically this is when we think of it, that it's coming out, right? If you look at in like 2016, 2017, all the auto manufacturers were saying, we're going to have 15 EVs by 2020. And in reality, some had none, some still have none, but some had none, and some had like one or two. And it turns out solving the EV problem is not as easy as they thought it was going to be. Now, in 2027, you just heard me tell you that all these companies are working on this technology, and it's not until 2027 that this technology is going to be available, even at a limited time, or even at a limited scale, a limited amount. But 2030 is really going to be the time. I think I think we're a little bit further away in general, right? The Verge, the folks at Donut Labs, like I said, they were founded by the same people that founded Verge Motorcycle and spun out. They think they've solved it. They think they've effectively, they can build these at scale. And I talked to them today, and I have an interview with them, and there were some things that they're just like, we're just not going to talk about these things, and I respected that. And you'll hear the interview at a later time. But Donut Labs initially was building hubless motors or in-wheel motors for Verge motorcycles. The advantage of a hubless motor is that you get the energy like right now. They say that EVs, you have instant torque or instant acceleration. Well, it's kind of that way. It's near instant, right? Because you gotta push down the accelerator, and then the EV needs to start spinning the tires, right? The hub in this, or the motor in this case, is right on the tire, so it is instant acceleration. And the problem with in-hub motors or wireless hubless motors is that they take a lot of abuse because they're taking all the road vibration. And I'll give you a little sneak peek into the interview. One of the things that Donut Labs did was they mounted a plate to the side of the motor, basically, and that plate connects to a hub, and then that goes to the suspension system. So effectively, instead of the motor absorbing all the impact from the road, it is connected to that metal plate, and that metal plate is connected to the suspension system. And then the suspension system takes all that abuse, and the motor is left. It's not, left having no impact from the road, but it's significantly less. Now, in terms of the Verge motorcycle, the first production motorcycle will be the Verge TS Pro. That's Tom Sam Pro. That'll be, again, this blows my mind, with a solid state battery. The TS Pro will have a 370 mile or 600 kilometer range. That's with the extended battery pack, and I'll talk about that in a second. The standard model of this bike, the smaller battery pack, will have a 217 to 350 kilometer mile range, which that's fantastic, right? The interesting part of this announcement is Ducati and QuantumScape, who's one of those companies that's working on solid state battery technology. And QuantumScape is honestly really close to solving this. They're probably one of the leaders in the industry in terms of this. They announced, QuantumScape and Ducati announced in 2025 that they were going to bring a solid state battery to the Ducati motorcycles, but that's not coming until later. So Donut Labs is saying we can bring this to you in a few months, which just blows my mind. The 20 kilowatt hour battery, which is the small one, 217 miles range, 350 kilometers. I said that. 124 miles or 200 kilometers of range recovered in 10 minutes when you're charging. And you're looking at $30,000 for a starting price. The 30 kilowatt hour extended range battery is 370 miles of range or 600 kilometers on a charge. They'll regain 186 miles or 300 kilometers of charge in 10 minutes. So, you're not exactly getting all of your energy back in 10 minutes, but it's a pretty fast charge time. It charges at 200 kilowatts. $35,000 price for that extended range. If they're able to pull this off, they've beaten, like I said, some of the largest companies in the EV space to market, which will be amazing. I got a chance to spend a lot of time in the Donut Lab booth and the Verge motorcycle booth, and I talked to the founder of Verge Motorcycle for a while. Lovely guy. Had a lot of fun chatting with him. They're very confident that this is they have the answer, and they're very confident that their solution was just something that nobody's thought of before. Now, at first, before I talked to them, my general feeling on this, was there was a lot of healthy skepticism, and I want them, again, to be successful, but I'm skeptical that they're going to be able to do this, and they understand that skepticism. But what they say is they looked at this problem and they came about it in a way to solve it in a way that nobody else is doing. And it was obvious, but nobody else did it. Now, what kind of maybe gives them a little bit more credit on this is the way that they solved the hubless motors, or the in-hub motors, or in-wheel motors. The way they solved that with just simply placing the metal plate on the outside of the motor. And that metal plate is now taking the absorption of the road, and it's not technically on the motor itself, right? It's the hubless plate is the plate is part of the suspension, which will allow the motor to relatively ride in comfort. I think that's a really unique idea. And when I was talking to one of the engineers who worked on this, I said, why didn't anybody do this before? And he was like, we have no idea. It seems so obvious. And I was like, yeah, seems extremely obvious. Now, whether or not this does not cause I have not tested this out, so I don't know if this actually reduces the wear on the motor specifically. but it makes sense to me that it would. And we walked through several demos, examples of the hubless motor and stuff, and we talked about it. And time will tell how the durability when this motorcycle comes out. They already have, Verge is already selling motorcycles. The new all solid state batteries will come out in a few months. But if this is true, this is fantastic news, and fantastic news for the people who own Verge and Donut Labs and stuff, obviously. But I do want to say one other thing though about the company. They have 3 different versions. They have the TS Pro, the California edition, which just has this beautiful orange color to it. And then the California edition is effectively just what's the word I'm looking for? Like a cosmetic upgrade, right? It's the same car as the other ones, or same truck as the other ones, or same truck, same motorcycle. As you can see, like I've been at this all day. Yeah, but it's this beautiful orange color, and I think it's the best orange color. But the bikes, it comes in the TS Pro, TS Ultra, and California Edition. Again, TS Pro and California Edition are basically the same bike. The TS Ultra, let me run through some specs here for you. The TS Ultra will have 1,200 nanometers of torque, a range of 370 plus miles according to their website. We are looking at a 0 to 60 speed, or a 0 to 60 time in 2.5 seconds. Now, I did talk to some folks on the team who I asked, hey, have you ridden this bike? And is it that fast? And they have said yes. They've ridden the bike, and it does go very, very fast. Now, when we get around to playing the interview, I will. The advantage of an electric bike is there's no clutch, there's no gears, and there's a bunch of computer software that's keeping you on the road. If the bike feels slippage in the rear, it's going to make adjustments to that tire, right? And hopefully avoid you getting into an accident or hurting yourself. Whereas if you get into a more traditional ICE vehicle, motorcycle, if you're not familiar with where that sweet spot is on the clutch as you're releasing the clutch, and when to accelerate, when to twist the throttle, and how to change those gears, your initial your initial ride is going to be about 3 seconds, because you're going to pop that clutch, squeeze the throttle, the bike's going to pop up and throw you off, and you're going to, fall on the ground. With a electric motorcycle, it's not really that way. Now, I'm not going to say that it's, whole cloth safer than an ICE vehicle, but in terms of those kind of little things, like if you get a little squirrely on gravel, the bike can adjust. I think electric motorcycles are really beneficial in that way. When we look at the competitors in this market, right, you have all the ICE, I keep saying trucks. You have all the internal combustion motorcycle companies, but then you have companies like Zero Motorcycles, and Zero makes a really good motorcycle for around $15,000 to start. You can configure it up to around $22,000. And it's not exactly an apples to apples comparison, but for $15,000, you're getting around 171 miles of range. And on average, I would say that's what most electric motorcycle companies are getting in terms of range. So if this is true, for $30,000, you're going to get 217 miles of range, or 350 kilometers. You're going to be able to recover 124 miles in 10 minutes. This is really compelling. Not for me, because I'm not allowed to own a motorcycle. And honestly, I'm not responsible enough to own a motorcycle, if I'm being honest. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing the interviews. I haven't had time to even, catalog all the interviews that I've gotten to this point, But I like I said, I got a chance to talk to the folks at Donut Lab and Verge Motorcycle, Allison and Steve Sheridan. Steve did the interview. They got a chance to talk to the CEO of Donut Labs, and I'll probably end up, because they've offered their interview as well. They concentrated more on the battery. I knew that going into the interview, so I didn't hit the battery too hard. I mostly kept with the hubs, so that would be a nice complement between what they got and what I got. And so my plan is to kind of put all that together into and organize it in a way that makes the most amount of sense. So I haven't heard their interview yet, but I did hear that Steve knocked it out of the park. So I'm looking forward to listening to it. All right. Let's see. Where are we at on time? Yeah, we're right there. We're right where we need to be. So I'm going to go take a quick shower and go to the Daily Tech News Show meetup, and then I will post this episode immediately after that. I hope everybody is doing well. It's a lot of cold and flu. I'm hoping that I don't come home from this with some sort of crud. But I'm looking forward to sharing what I got with you. Talked to a lot of really cool people. And some of the content I got didn't necessarily have to do with EVs, but we'll add those into the show as well, just as added bonuses. I think everybody's going to enjoy that. All right, everybody, thanks so much. If you want to email me, it's Bodie, BODIE, at 918digital.com. If you would like to support my CES habit, you can go to patreon.com/kilowatt, or actually you can just go to supportkilowatt.com and you can choose to support the show on Patreon or Supercast. Either one works. And last night I got home from Showstoppers and I wrote up notes for this show. And I was laying on the couch in the hotel room, which I don't typically do, but I was just so tired. And I got done writing up the notes, and then I was like, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes for a second. I put my laptop on the coffee table. I'm going to close my eyes for a second, and then I'll record. And it just did not work that way. I fell asleep, woke up around 3, and then finally got into bed. And then I slept all the way up to 7. And I didn't even want to get out of bed at 7, but I had a meeting at 8, so I had to get up. But yeah, I'm really enjoying my time here. So a big thank you to everybody that supports the show, both financially and listening to the ads, because that's how I'm able to come here and buy a $40. I'm not joking. There at the Venetian in the conference area, I bought a water, a bag of chips, and a chicken sandwich. Oh, and a yogurt. And the yogurt was, a little bit bigger of a yogurt. I needed the extra protein. It was $40 for that, for a water, and it was a hotel branded water. It wasn't even a fancy water. A water, a sandwich. It was a good sandwich. Bag of chips, small bag of chips, and a yogurt. Yeah. So yeah. All right, everybody. I feel like I just talked to you forever. I'll shut up now, and I will talk to you on Friday when I get back home. Oh, wait. The show's not over just yet. Not just yet. So this it's a very busy day. The CES days are very busy. I got up 7 o'clock and went and did a bunch of stuff, right? And then, but I got home and basically recorded an episode, the episode that you heard today. Took a shower, went to the Daily Tech News Show meetup at Resorts World. And I just wanted to say, and I'm not going to call anybody out specifically just in case I miss anyone, but, I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to a lot of really wonderful people who were there for Daily Tech News Show. They weren't there for me, but it was really nice to just kind of sit down and talk to the folks at the Daily Tech News Show, the team themselves. And then it was nice to just kind of meet everybody else that's in the Daily Tech News Show sphere that, that are fans or just, attached to the show in some way. and just have a moment to just sit down and talk. I really enjoyed myself. And honestly, I'm not quite sure. We were there for maybe 3 hours total, maybe a little less than that. And for me, it felt like the time just flew by. It was just really enjoyable to sit down and meet everybody and just kind of have that moment. So some folks were here at CES. Some folks just drove in. Some folks lived in Vegas, and it was just super cool to meet everybody and talk to everybody and hear everybody's stories. So if I met you and I'm not calling you out specifically, it's not because I'm being rude. It's because there might be somebody that I missed, and I don't want to be that person that is leaves somebody out. So everybody that I talked to was so lovely, and it was so nice to chat, and kind. Everybody was super kind. So just wanted to add that before this episode goes out. All right, everybody, I'm going to go. It sounds like my very loud laundry is done. So I'm going to go put that in the dryer, and hopefully the dryer is not super loud. And yeah, I'll talk to you all on Friday.